So, what are my thoughts on games as a service? Let's get into this. One of the most notorious games as a service, which I think is a silly name, by the way, since this year began in particular, happens to be the game Anthem. Now, anyone who's been following me knows exactly how I feel about Anthem. Since they first revealed it at E3, I knew that it was fake gameplay and the finished product would not be anything like that. I could look at it and tell. Nobody plays games that perfectly live on stage. Your nerves get to you, everything happens. It's not gonna be that perfectly. So I could tell it was fake, that it was video. But games as a service, the idea of it is ridiculous to me personally. It's kind of like if you were to buy a car and instead of getting the full car, you get just the frame. Then over a while, you eventually get tires. You eventually get the cushions, not the whole seat. Then you get the rest of the seat and you have a cushion. Then you eventually get a steering wheel. Then you eventually get windows. And then you eventually get a horn. You eventually get an ignition that actually put your key in. You eventually get shocks and springs and everything that goes to a car. And yeah, no one would do that. Nobody would buy a car that they can't really use it to its full ability in Nissan, Honda, Toyota, Ford, or whoever is like, oh, but we have a roadmap. Your car will be finished over time. It's a bit of a silly idea. Like, if you're going to do this, you have to do it right. Like a prime example of doing it wrong is, again, Anthem. Because Anthem had you pay full price for a game that the campaign didn't fully finish. The things they promised at E3 are not in the game. And at this point, they've abandoned their roadmap and they're pretty much about to give up on the whole service. You can look at it and tell. And it's just not looking good for them. It's just, I feel sorry for the people who bought this thinking that it was going to be this awesome thing that would go on forever, because I'm like, you had to pay for it up front. That's the worst way you could do it. A better game that I feel personally that's basically done what Anthem was hoping to do and one up them, I'd have to say, is Warframe. Because Warframe has been around for a while, and it's pretty, it's been around for a while. It's a free game, and it basically does everything that Anthem promised and more. So I'm like, why would anybody pay $60 or even $80 if you got the full bundle with all the bells and whistles, which they gave to people later anyway, so you pay for that full bundle for exclusive stuff. Everybody has that now with Anthem. But why would anybody pay for that when there's a game that's similar and better that's free, which is Anthem? I mean, not Anthem, but Warframe. It's kind of silly. And they've been doing it over a while. That's, if you're gonna do games as a service, do it like Warframe did it, which is, here's a free game, and over the course of all these years, we're gonna keep adding to it and adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. And you can choose to, buy skins or buy Warframes or buy platinum to get weapons. You can choose to do that. Or if you were someone who was playing from the beginning, you probably grinded it out and you probably just formed your favorite frames by building them in a foundry or whatever. So if you're gonna do the games as a service, do it that way. But I wouldn't call Warframe that. I would just call it a free-to-play game that's ever evolving. That's the way you're supposed to do it. Another example I can think of is Splatoon. Splatoon is just the first one on the Wii U. Now, you do pay for this one, but you got a full game. You got the full campaign. You got the full campaign. You got the turf mode that they promised at E3. Plus, you got the Splat Zone that they didn't even tell you about at E3. And then you kept getting updates over the whole thing and got Rainmaker and Tower Control for the first game. By the time the second game came out, you had Clam Blitz, you have all these Splatfests and everything going on. And again, it already was a full game with a full campaign and full features, all the features they promised, and they just gave you free updates over time. They didn't have to do that, but they chose to do that. What I call Splatoon games as a service? No, it was a full game that was ever evolving. Like, there's no problem with that. Like, if I were to buy, again, back to the car analogy, if I were to buy a car that was already a full feature car, and then over a while they just decide, hey, we're gonna put rocket boots on, rockets on the side of this thing, and give you nitrous and give you the ability to teleport. Now, it already was a good car. Now they can teleport and all that. That's a darn good car now. It'd be awesome. As opposed to getting a shell of a car that evolves over a while and I have to wait for this roadmap, as they call it. Another good example I can think of is Diablo. Diablo has been around forever. And Diablo is just like the Splatoon example. You pay for it once. You pay for the game once. Now, there's no other money you can put into Diablo. At least Splatoon has DLC, but Diablo, there is no DLC. There's no other money. You pay for it once. And they keep giving you these events and seasons that's been going on forever. So Diablo kind of falls into that bracket of really good game that's ever evolving. So games as a service, this is a bad idea. Very, very, very bad idea. But an ever evolving game, there's no problem with that. That's a great idea. Let's do that. Like I've said it once, and I'll say it again. My idea of the ultimate game that would make me not buy anything else for the entire gen would be an ever-evolving JRPG. I'm talking about something like Dragon Quest. Maybe even something based off an anime like Fairy Tail. But there's maybe just a big open world RPG like Dragon Quest. I pay for it once. Or maybe even free to play, and I don't know, I pay for items here and there. Something. I don't care if they do that, like Warframe, where you can buy items in the game. Just maybe make it free to play and you can buy items in the game, or however they want to do it. I pay for it once, and it keeps evolving, and for the whole gen, like over the course of like 7, 8, 9, 10 years, it keeps evolving, adding new locales, new types of missions that didn't exist before, new weapons that didn't exist before, new characters. That would be a dream come true for me. So an ever-evolving game is the way to go for the future. But these games as a service, no. It's a flawed concept. It's like, I see their heart is in the right place. They want to keep the game alive. But if you're going to do that, do like these other examples I gave. Like Splatoon, like Diablo, like Warframe. Do like those. Give us a full game first and keep evolving. Or in the case of Warframe, make it free to play, so we're not paying for something that's unfinished, and then you keep on adding and adding and adding and adding. So if they're gonna make games as a service, I say technically, I guess you can count Warframe that. If you're gonna do games as a service, you have to follow the Warframe model. Give us free to play and add onto it over a while, because it is simply criminal to charge people for this, and then you can abandon it midway through. Until next time, this is AWBrawler for the Nintelligent Podcast saying, be you, be true, be human. And remember, fans, watashi wa nato ashite. Mwah.